You're listening to Out of the Box with Rosie Tran. Out of the Box is sponsored by hugmetees.com. Hugmetees.com. Spread love, give a hug, hugmetees.com. Guys, we're now on SoundCloud. Check us out on SoundCloud and click on the follow button. You can also check us out on Stitcher or iTunes. And as always, leave a comment and subscribe. I'm here today with entrepreneur and host of the Cerrone Show, Chris Cerrone. Chris, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for saying my last name right.
I just want the listeners to know that even though Chris is a friend of mine and I've actually been on his podcast, I had to listen to 5 or 6 episodes of his intro on repeat to get his name correct.
I know you know how to say it, but maybe because, you know, we're in the same room together or something, like it's getting you thrown off. I don't know.
I think I'm just traumatized because I had Daniele Bolelli as a guest, and he has a very complicated Italian name, and he...
So it's the Italians, that is what you're saying.
You're Italian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know. The Italian people scare me. And I asked him, I said, Daniele, how do I say your name? And he said, Daniele. He's like, it doesn't matter. And so I said what I said. And then I actually got a hate mail and a negative comment from a listener that was a fan of his saying that I butchered his name. And how could I do...
Like, let me just say, if you're Italian, like, it's almost in your DNA to be okay with having your name messed up, by the way. Like, you're just used to it. You hear it your whole life.
And I feel like it should be like Cerrone or something, like with an E at the end because of the Italian.
It's in Italy. It's like, and I'm probably going to butcher my own last name. In Italy, it's truly pronounced like Cerrone, I think.
Oh, I would totally screw that up.
Yeah, I'll stick with Cerrone. How's that?
So you're actually saying the whitewashed version.
Yeah.
I'm messing up the whitewashed version.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm West Coast. I mean, that's, you know, born and raised in Vegas, so I'll say Cerrone. I'll stick to it.
So I'm really excited to have you on here because you are just an amazing person. You have an amazing story. Are you getting turned on by my podcast equipment?
I am. Sorry. I'm like touching buttons over here. I didn't mean to throw you off.
I'm not, but it's funny because you're not the first podcaster I've had in my lovely dark den of a home. And you're not the first podcaster to look at the equipment and be like, let me see what you have as your setup.
Yeah, I was just turning up my headphones, but no, I love this, by the way.
I just had Vinny Tortorich, and he was like examining it. He's like, what do you do? Oh, okay. You have 4 inputs. I have only 2.
Yeah.
You have an amazing story. You were working a 6-figure job, and you said, hey, I'm done.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. The company that I was working for, I was there 5 years. I absolutely loved it. I wasn't one of these guys that are like, oh my gosh, I got to go to work. Like, I loved what I did.
What were you doing?
It was pretty much like a consultant in the wireless industry. I worked specifically for Clear Internet. They're gone now, so I don't care.
I'm like, what's Clear Internet?
Yeah, it was an internet company. They were out here in California. They were huge, and they were bought out by Sprint. And on September 20th of last year, they let everyone go. They shut the doors down. They only wanted it for the network, so it was almost like if you bought a bakery and you just wanted the ovens. You bought the bakery, you took the ovens out, and you shut everything down. That's pretty much what happened. And I went on vacation because I haven't been on a vacation in God knows how long, and I know my wife needed one too. So we went on a long vacation, came back, started looking for a job, was offered just a ridiculous amount of money in Brooklyn, New York. I accepted it. And then... You're married. You'll understand this. You know how, like, there's those husband, wife, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Those, like, when you're in a really good relationship, those conversations that usually happen at, like, 11 o'clock at night and don't end till, like, 3, 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, the worst times to have those type of conversations. That's what happened.
Are you talking about the deep ones or the fight ones?
Both. Either one. They last 4 or 5 hours. It's craziness. But the night before we were supposed to sign a lease because we found a home in Staten Island and did the math. Okay, if I go over the bridge X amount of times a day, like tolls, like we figured it out.
Are you sure you're from the West Coast? You already sound like some of the East Coast guys I know.
Well, my family's from the East, and I grew up around it. My wife's from Jersey, so I am very proud that I am West Coast, Vegas, born and raised. But maybe I live vicariously through all the East Coasters. I don't know. But we had that conversation. I said, I don't want to do this. I'm only doing it for the money. Like, I want to provide for my two little boys and you and provide this life for us, but it's literally going to suck my soul out every time I wake up and go over that bridge.
Was it because it was something that you really didn't want to do? It wasn't like...
No, it was something like the title. It was a director title. So in corporate America, I guess, because I've only been in corporate 5 years. Prior to that, I've owned a business. I've done this, that, and the other. Like everything about it. There's the third co-host, by the way. Everything.
Have you seen the website? I just totally cut you off, Mitzi. Have you seen the website?
I actually added
them.
One?
I actually added them as co-host, and Mitzi and Jamie, my Jack Russell and my mini Schnauzer, have their own picture and bio.
I looked at it when you announced that you updated it, and I checked it on my phone, and I was like, sweet. Not that the old one was bad or anything, but I was like, sweet, she's moving on up. But I didn't see that part.
I will show you as we're talking.
Okay,
and
sweet.
Possibly edit it out, but
no, it's okay.
And then I want to tell you. So I added a bio. Everyone, go on outoftheboxpodcast.com right now.
Oh, I did see that actually.
And I just want you to know that my gray Schnauzer, who jumped on you when you walk in, actually has more TV credits than I do.
Really?
Yeah, he was in a Purina commercial. We were in it together.
So you can go on IMDb and look it up.
They don't let you make pet IMDbs, and I wanted to.
That's craziness.
But he has been on so many things as a doggy actor, which is a real thing in Hollywood, people.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
So yes, the third and fourth co-host, my two dogs, everyone. Yay!
And they're gorgeous dogs, but I just couldn't do it. The title was good. Everything was good. It was just like you ever seen the movie Click? And I think I've made this reference before.
I am, but I wanted to go back because you actually were saying something that was really interesting before I totally cut you off to talk about my dogs.
And I went with it too.
Hashtag crazy pet lady. You were saying in corporate America there's a lot of, and then you totally went off because you said you're a director.
Of, like corporate politics and this title means that, and because it's almost like, you know, the rich get richer. Well, the higher the title, you have more benefits and it's easier to do things. That's just what I've learned. You know, I'm no professional, just in my 5 short years of being in corporate America.
What were the businesses that you had?
I owned a cafe for a while.
Oh my god, that sounds fun. Why would you stop doing that?
It was the most amazing thing ever. I wish I still had that cafe.
Why did you stop that? That's like sounds so fun. You know, when I make all of my crazy podcasting money and get John Lee Dumas rich, I wanted to buy a cafe.
That's funny you say that because I want to do the exact same thing.
Why did you give up your cafe?
I had to. It was 2008 or 9 or something when the economy like really started getting bad.
And the business wasn't doing well?
No, the business was okay, but I have a background in real estate. I did real estate for almost 7 years. And I went to my wife, and it was a family business. And I was like, if we don't get out of this now, we're probably going to sink in it. So we need to think about either like writing this out or just sell it and get out while we can. And we sold it, and I think we made like $1 or $100 profit or something.
Really?
Which is fantastic. Yeah, which is fantastic because we sank some good money into that thing. Quick side note: owning a cafe is like the greatest thing ever.
I'm
by the way,
so jealous of your cafe past.
I'll show you pictures, or I'll text you pictures one day. Cafe Aroma.
Oh my gosh!
In what I envisioned,
that's like my retirement dream.
What I envisioned was like this little cafe where you knew it was almost like I wanted to recreate Cheers.
I was about to say, was it a Cheers?
Yeah, where like you knew everybody. And I'd like sit in the corner with the hat that I'm wearing now, and I'd like say, "Hey, what's up, you know, Paul, or what's up, Mary, or whatever." And that's exactly what happened. That's what I built. Like we had these little kids come in, and I would name drinks after them just for fun, and that like I'd make these kids' day. Like on December, like during the holiday seasons, I'd make like reindeer pee and like snowman poop drinks.
Did you have like sandwiches and stuff?
Yeah, like little sandwiches. It wasn't like a full blown kitchen, but we did like pizzas and sandwiches and just real quick stuff. But mainly like
that's
coffee.
My dream. That's like my dream.
It was the greatest. I really, really, really want to do it again one day.
Okay.
Like own a cafe. So if you're thinking about it, like, yeah, just do it. Don't even think about it. I don't even know. Like from experience, yeah, it was awesome.
That was a total side tangent, but I'm like, oh my god, why would you leave that?
I didn't want to, world. But I'm glad I did. And we made the right decision because we went. I still live maybe 10 minutes from it, and I went back in maybe a year later, and the guy that bought it from me already sold it to someone else.
Because he had issues.
Because just the economy, and it went down.
Oh,
it was tough. Yeah. Where it was located too, it was perfect, but it was kind of like deep back in there. You had to like know it was there pretty much. There was no like we weren't on the frontage road or anything like that. But the experience of not just owning like something like a store or something, because that was awesome in itself, but just the conversations that you would have in the cafe with the customers.
I just want you to know that your face is totally lit up right now talking about this cafe.
So I'm not lying when I was like, I want to do this again. That's funny because I'm harping on the conversations with customers, and then I go and start a podcast to conversate with people, you know? Maybe we're onto something. I don't know.
I think we are. Well, it's a social need that people have. Like, I think we're kind of, like, when you talk about corporate America, we're in our, most people are in their cubicles or they're on their phone. I mean, I just think it's so funny that social media and technology and smartphones are made so people can feel connected, and yet they're actually making people feel less connected, because you'll be sitting at a table with 5 amazing people you could be having a conversation with, and everyone is on their phone.
Yeah.
You know? And I just went out with 2 neighbors that live in the building, and we all had dinner, and we didn't look at our phones, and we were connected, and we're laughing and having conversations, and you feel so much better. It's like, check the phone later.
I think it's choice. It's not the smartphones, because think about it. You and I was going to say technically, but no, you and I met on Twitter.
Yes.
And we continued that, and then you did the show, and then this whole entire time, I mean, what's it been, 5-6 months or whatever, we kept in touch. Fast forward to today, I'm in California, sitting right in front of you. Like, it's up to the people, I think, to make that decision to maintain the relationship, right? Use that as a tool. It could be with anybody, but make a conscious effort to take it off Twitter, off Facebook, off whatever.
Tool. It's a tool that you can use to meet people and other things, but it shouldn't be. I think a lot of people use social media to avoid.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people,
because they're insecure or whatever.
Yeah, I've said it. It's just like when people, some people smoke because they like smoking, or whatever, but some people use smoking as a way to avoid talking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got to take a smoke, or they'll pretend like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a conversation, having an uncomfortable conversation with someone, not because I wanted to. It was one of those necessary conversations you need to have. And the girl, kept picking up her phone and checking her phone, oh, well, I'm waiting for a really important call, and I just have to keep checking my text and my phone. I'm like, no, you just really don't want to have this uncomfortable conversation with me.
Yeah,
It's so obvious.
Yeah. It's craziness. You know what? And I'm kind of talking crap, but I've been guilty of it myself at times.
Oh, we've all done it. I mean? We've all done it.
I've been at a conference or something or whatever, and I'm just like, I don't
want to talk to these people.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to these people or whatever. Or I get uncomfortable maybe, and I just go straight to the phone, and I could literally just be like clicking on the home screen over and over, and that's it. So if you see me out there in the world at another conference, just slap the phone out of my hand. I'm not really doing anything.
Okay, so on to the business. Sorry, side tangent.
No, I love it.
You had that, and then why did you? So you just gave up the cafe, and then you found this job, which you liked, but it went out under the company.
Yeah, there was something like in between then that I did, but yeah, a friend of mine called me up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm at this company. You have to come over. You're gonna love it." And I was like, dude, I've never I mean, I've had like jobs as a kid and stuff, but I never entered in corporate America. No, I don't want to do it. But somehow he convinced me, and I, although didn't mind what I was doing, it was not sustainable. It was just kind of to pay the bills. So I said, okay, why not? 4 months later, he gets fired, by the way. The guy that brought me on, he gets fired.
It's a great company. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What happened?
He gets fired. For his own fault, by the way. But yeah, and then I ended up staying. I was there, November would have been 5 years, actually. Yeah. September, October, November. So I was just shy of 5 years because it was like September 30th or something. And
then the big offer, you're ready to move to New York, and did your wife completely freak out when you said no, or was she like pretty supportive? Or both?
Both, because here's why. She's originally from Edison, New Jersey.
Okay.
Her grandmother, aunts, uncles, basically everybody's there except her parents. Her parents are in Vegas with us.
Okay.
So she was stoked, but that's a big lifestyle change. I mean, yeah, she's from Edison, New Jersey, but she's been in Vegas since 96, 97 or something. So, she's used to Las Vegas. We go out there for Thanksgiving and whatnot, but it's different when you're actually living there. Not to mention living in like Staten Island or Brooklyn, where we were looking at. So she was
totally
nervous.
Different lifestyle change in Las
oh my
Vegas.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was actually excited because I love it out there as much West Coast as I want to be. Like, I do love it out there, and I think it's cool. I've never lived out there, so maybe, a month later I can be shooting myself, say, what the hell did I do? But for her, I think she was really bummed about leaving her parents and my parents, because they both sets live in Vegas. But we had that conversation, which helped us both. And I told her, and I don't even know if I said this because we keep going off on these tangents, which I love, by the way, because I do it on my own show. We had one of those conversations, and I basically told her, like, I don't want to do this. I'll basically be on autopilot, like the movie Click with Adam Sandler. This is where I got, and then we stopped, by the way. Now I remember. Like Adam Sandler, he hit the remote, and then he fast forwards 30 years of his life. And yeah, he's rich and successful, and he did what he wanted to do, but he doesn't remember the past 30 years, and he wasn't there for his children. My kids are 5 and 2. Like, there would have been so much that I would have missed by taking that job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now they get daddy at home in the closet.
Pretty much. Now it's the bedroom now. But yeah, pretty much. And I told her that, and I was like, I want to do my own thing. I don't know what that is. You're going to have to just have faith in me to figure that out. And she was like, she's super supportive. She was like, yeah. And she was like, it's funny you mentioned that, because I want you to do your own thing too. Like, she could tell, you know what I mean? She could tell I was bummed about it, and I was just kind of sucking it up because that's what I had to do as the husband or whatever. She's a stay-at-home mom, so it was relying on me. But she was willing to take that risk, and so was I. And my gosh, I am glad that I did, because it's just been amazing. I don't nearly make as much yet, because I have very high aspirations. I don't nearly make as much as I did there, but our finances are like on point. I know you're like real big into money and stuff like that. Like our finances and our savings on point, and how we live our lifestyles on point. So I'm able to, in the middle of the week, come down to LA or do whatever and still save money and live the same lifestyle that we were used to living, but just on a way smaller scale.
Yeah.
Income wise.
I actually, I don't know if it's money. I'm just really into personal responsibility with finance, because I think people are just totally crazy.
They are.
And, I have so many friends and other relatives and people who are, driving Beamers. They shouldn't be driving Porsches. They shouldn't be driving and leasing things. And, and
it's like half the United States, by the way. Probably 75% that do that.
And it's like, and I've said this, on multiple podcast episodes, and you can attest to it sitting here in my living room. People would look at me and think, oh, well, she's not doing that well because I drive a Corolla and I live in a small 1-bedroom place. But I don't feel that what financial intelligence I have, I need to flash it around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need a Beamer for my self-confidence.
That's exactly what it is, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
It's self-confidence.
99% of that type of spending is image-based spending. You want to impress people, you want to show off, you want to whatever. And yet, income minus ridiculous expenses, you're in the hole. I just think that's silly.
That's a big thing I noticed in corporate America, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the obvious, but a lot of it they would justify it because you're like, oh, you got to look the part, and you got to, people will take it more seriously, and I get that, right? Like that way of thinking, and it's all around.
It's really
right?
big in real estate. It's really big in finance.
Yeah.
I know a lot of real estate brokers who are selling 5 houses a year, and they're not high-end houses. Yet they're leasing a Beamer because they want to look.
They got to look the part.
They got to look the part. I'm like, I don't get it, but I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. I totally understand what you're saying. I'd rather be where I'm at now and hanging with the people that I hang out now and talking to the people that I talk to now than live in that world. You get to meet some
really interesting people.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
The people that I have met through the podcast, it's like my mind. I feel like my mind expands like exponentially talking to them.
not only expands, but gets blown. Like, what is it, the AT&T commercial with the guy and the kids, and he's like like 3 times a week I do that on my show. Seriously. In, what was it, a month or 2 ago, I was in Arizona with John, Michael O'Neill, like a lot of the guys that we know together, AJ Amex, like all these like internet people making serious loot. And they're like the happiest people ever.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're all wearing like Vans shoes, and they're just super chill. And just that vibe alone like got me excited for life. You know what I mean? Like not everyone has
a lot of people are, and excuse my harsh words, but they're dead inside, or they're living a life where they're dead inside. Yeah. And they have a smile on their face, and they think everything's fine, but it's like you can tell. It's so obvious, especially if you're in tune with reality and you're not numbing yourself constantly. And I'm not an anti-drug advocate. I actually am very pro. but a lot of people use drugs and alcohol, money, like you said, finance, to numb out, cell phones, whatever, because their life is not where they want it to be. And I'm so happy that you chose the path of saying, hey, do I want to numb out and make a bunch of money, or do I want to be authentic to myself?
Well, if we want to get like deep on your show,
let's get deep, baby.
Okay. I went through that in real estate. Like I got sucked up into that lifestyle, and I was making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands a year.
Real estate in Vegas? Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was the douchebag that, can we, like, is this explicit? I'm so used to being on my show.
You know what happened? I had it explicit, and then I had sponsors that wanted to sponsor me, and they told me to censor. So I moved to censorship. And then I got frustrated with editing my censored episodes. So I told them that I did not want their sponsorship. And I know that's crazy, but I just want to say whatever I want, okay?
Well, douchebag I think is okay, because I say it on my show.
I think it's okay, but I gave up on the censorship. So if you guys are a fan of the podcast, you'll notice my first like 5 or 6 episodes are totally uncensored. And then there's like 4 or 5 randomly censored episodes. And then the rest are not censored.
Well, just in case, because I do not cuss on my show at all for that reason. But outside of that, my wife and I are like,
I know you told
sailors.
Me that.
Yeah, we're like freaking sailors.
So you were the
I was
real
the
estate douchebag.
I was the douchebag with the Gucci wallet and the nice Cadillac, and then 6 months later the nice Jag, and then I was living in the high rise. Like I was that person, and I got to a point where I don't think I've ever talked about this on, definitely not on my show, but on any others. But I'm gonna give this to you, my gift to you. Got wrapped up in partying and drugs and alcohol and just like, it was just like a whirlwind. Like you said that people are not in tune with reality. I think that they're not in tune with themselves. Like
that's
at
what
its
I mean.
core.
That's what I mean by reality. And I had a really, really good friend who I kind of got into a little argument about this, because I said, dude, you just don't know yourself. And he was like, how dare you? How can you say I don't know myself? And I started introducing him to some personal development stuff. 6 months later, he's like, you knew me better than I knew myself. Yeah. How could you? He's like, how could you see that? I'm like, everyone can see that.
Yeah.
We all
except yourself.
We all have these blind spots. And what happens is nobody is honest. Nobody is going to love you enough. Maybe your mom. Yeah. Maybe your spouse. Maybe. To love you enough to tell you, because people don't want to hurt people on that level unless they're really invested in them. So like I said, maybe your mom, maybe your dad, maybe your spouse. But even spouses, and I'm lucky my hubby and I are pretty eye to eye as far as reality is concerned, quote unquote. But I mean, even your family, a lot of people's family members want to see them a certain way. Like if you were a kid and you had a speech impediment growing up, and you say, well, I'm going to do a podcast. Sometimes parents and brothers and sisters are the first ones who say, you can't do that. So some people, it's up to you to look in the mirror and really be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They're kind of delusional with what they see. Yeah. And you can't do that. You got to say, hey, what's going on with me? What are my pros? What are my cons? What am I doing? What do I really want? And I don't know that a lot of people are taking the steps that are in aligned with their core values, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Like
you said, hey, I wanted it, but then it was just for the money. And then your core value, that's not you.
Yeah.
I don't see you. Honestly, you told me that, but I don't see you in a Jag. I don't see you with the Gucci wallet. I don't see you. You seem like a pretty, as he pulls it out.
and it's all old and haggard.
It's the old one.
It's the
my
old
original.
one. But yeah, it still works. This is from that era, though.
You're like, this is. I recycled it. It's.
Yeah. I would never I don't care if I'm a millionaire. Like if I was a millionaire right now, I wouldn't buy another Gucci wallet. You nuts? Like it's just not needed. It's not me.
It's not that it's not needed. It's that I used to be really into that too when I was growing up because my parents are label whores and they've gotten better actually. I don't know what happened, but growing up my mom was like a big label whore. Mm-hmm. And I guess when I really got into investing, that's when I realized that the shirt from Gucci, believe it or not, and some people get really mad. No, it's not. It's handmade in Italy. The shirt from Gucci and the shirt from Nike and the shirt from, whatever, Forever 21 or the shirt from the dollar store, they all have the tag inside that says made in Sri Lanka, made in Bangladesh, and a little sweatshop worker is making it. And the reason that you pay $150 instead of $10 is because they are spending that money on advertising dollars to brainwash you to buy a $5 shirt for $150.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when they had the big scandal where one of the factories burned down, they actually said, oh, this factory makes clothes for, and they named like 20 different brands.
That's just crazy.
It's all the same stuff.
That's crazy.
It's all exactly the same stuff.
They just slap a different logo on it.
They slap a different logo on it because I don't know do you remember that when the big factory burned down? There was like a factory in Bangladesh and it burned down or China or something, and it was a big
within the past couple of years,
yeah,
right?
and it was
remember
it was
this,
a big like human rights thing because they were like treated like crap and the people inside were getting paid 5 cents an hour or something like that. And they said, oh, this factory makes clothes for, and they named like 20 different brands. And I'm like, oh, it's all totally fake.
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors. So I decided to not invest my money in that and invest in other things like my brain.
I wish more people would. My gosh, I wish more people would. Really, because the deeper down the rabbit hole I'm getting with this whole podcasting thing, because as you know, my show launched February 12th. It's been 5 months?
I know, and you've had so much success with it.
Yeah, in this short amount of time, in this deep rabbit hole, I'm realizing a lot of stuff. And I was already mentally healthy by the time I started the show and by the time I went to clear and all that, but it's getting even more mentally healthy, if that makes any sense at all.
It makes total sense, but just so you know, I know you meant clear as in the company, but when you said it sounded like some culty, like when I went off to clear.
No. Yeah,
now my brain is open.
When I drank the ayahuasca and got my mind. No.
Have you done ayahuasca yet?
No. I've heard so much about it, but no.
We're gonna do it, but we need to. We should do it together.
That's an expensive trip. I want to actually go to wherever it is.
It's in Peru.
They
have people
Peru.
that do it in San Diego.
You could pretty much find anything in America when you really think about it. Like if you go to Vegas, East Fremont, you can get like fireworks, a switchblade, drugs, hookers. Still to this day, you can get a Social Security, you can get a birth certificate, you can get a master's degree down there on East Fremont Street. You can. I don't even remember. Oh, not ayahuasca. What were we talking about?
You said the deeper the rabbit hole that you go down.
The deeper the rabbit hole I am going down, and the relationships and the connections that I'm making, people like you and a lot of the people that we know together, it's going back to the mind blown thing is like, this is awesome. Like I love my life and I love the relationships and the people that I talk to now 1 billion times more than anybody I ever met at corporate, anybody I ever met in real estate, anybody I ever met before. And there's a couple people that I stayed in touch with. I mean, I'm not, crazy. I still have a lot of good friends.
Totally cut them out of my life.
No. But
they're all a-holes.
It's almost like, and this may come off as arrogant, but I feel like I have a superpower. Like I'm so in tune with myself, and I know what I want, and I know what I don't want, and I know what's right for me, and all that I feel like I have a superpower. It sounds weird.
It doesn't sound weird at all.
It sounds weird when I'm saying it.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all. It might sound weird to someone who's listening, but it's because you were kind of asleep for a long time.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of people go through that, and it's so hard to explain to people because you sound so arrogant and so pompous to be like, I know you better than you know yourself, and you're not living your life, but you can just see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious when someone is hating their job, just doing it for the money, just doing this and that. And I'm not talking down on anyone who has to make ends meet because, we're in tough times, but there are alternative ways if you're open to it. And I think that a lot of people are so scared to step over that bridge or take that leap or like you said,
Or they'll do, I didn't mean to cut you off, they'll go do things that they normally won't do to make ends meet, to keep up with this lifestyle that they built for themselves, when in reality, they don't really need some of the crap that they have in their lives, or they don't need some of the friends. And you know what I mean? Like,
I think a lot of people are attached to it as an identity, and they're just so like, this is who I am, and I can, and what happens, and what if people, it's a fear of rejection, and it goes very deep to the core. And I think that's why I so advocate personal development. Read books, listen to podcasts, do work on yourself, because that will free you from all attachment to material judgment and all that stuff, because you just won't care, because you'll have such a strong core inside of you that if someone's like, oh, well, I have the new blah, 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 then you're like, great. And you'll see it, instead of seeing it as something to be impressed by, you'll see it as, this person is so insecure, they need a blah, blah, blah to feel confident.
Yeah, exactly. What was that song, like the early 90s, like that, free your mind? That's like when you said that, that's what I thought of just now.
What is that, En Vogue?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what it is. I literally sang that to myself when you said free your mind. Sorry.
No, that's great. So did you guys have a game plan? Because your wife was a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
And you were not accepting this job. Obviously, to most people that sounds crazy. Well, he just didn't take the job, and then what? He just decided to do a podcast? Like, what was the next step after that? Because you said, I need to find what I want to do, but I don't know what that is. Yeah,
and I did not have a game plan at all. Going back to the cafe, I was like, I can go and start another cafe again, because that I know. Like, I can, and I actually started looking into locations and really getting into it, and the entire time I was listening to podcasts of like
business podcasts,
the business podcasts, and like comedy, and just everything. I was just like, for some weird reason, got like really consumed with podcasts to the point where I had earphones in all day. That's all I was listening to, because I thought to myself, okay, I have no income right now. We had savings, and we were smart on that end, that allowed me to really find what I wanted to do next. But what I thought to myself, okay, this can go one of two ways. I could have no job and all this free time, and I can get caught up with playing with my son for, a half hour. That could turn into 8 hours. And what did I get accomplished? Yeah, I played with my son and I spent time with, but what really got accomplished? I can get started on the new season of whatever on whatever TV, or Netflix, because I never was able to watch TV because I was so busy. And then that could turn into, basically what I was worried about is getting lazy and getting stuck in a rut. It was almost like, because I came from corporate, my mind was conditioned. It's like an athlete, right? Like, you're conditioned in a certain way, and then you kind of let yourself go, and then it's 10 times harder to get back in that fighting shape.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose the mental state of what I was in, so I was just super, super consumed with podcasts. And one day I was like, why don't I just start a podcast? Like, literally, that was it. I even said it to me like that, soft in my mind, like, why don't I just start a podcast? And that's what I did, and I started like really as hyper focused as I was listening to podcasts. I got hyper focused on, how do I do it? Like, how do I start? Could I make money? Once I found a couple people that did make money, that's all I needed to know at that point. I didn't care how they did it. I just needed to know that it could be done. And if they did X, then they've opened the door for me to do Y, or possibly even Z. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. What I need to figure out, though, is what's going to be unique to me and what's going to be like my thing. Because I didn't want to like replicate anybody or go down that path. Just, I don't know, from what I've learned, like, it just never works. You got to be you when you do this stuff, You seem
pretty relaxed, though. I know when I spoke to John Lee Dumas, he said, well, he had never done one before. He was kind of shy. His first few episodes, if you listen, he's like totally awkward. You seem pretty relaxed. I've, listened to your episodes. You always have seemed pretty relaxed and calm and confident. Was that an issue for you at all? How am I going to talk for an hour 3 times a week?
Well, that's why I interview people, because it's easier for me to just banter on somebody. I tried 2 solo shows in the beginning, and one was like 20. My shows generally, for those that are listening right now, my shows generally like an hour, and now they're like an hour and a half long. I tried 2 solo ones in the beginning. One was like 20 minutes, and one was like 30 minutes. It was just tough. So I was like, okay, no more of that. But
so you did try to record on your own?
Yeah. I just ran out of stuff to say, and I was like, this kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to run out. I do so much better talking to people. I don't think I struggled with it at all. And it's not because, I'm some fantastic speaker. It's not because of that. It's just because I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to be like such my authentic self and have a natural conversation, because I know I can do that. If I try to follow a script, or if I try to follow anything else that's not unique to me, I'd get hung up on, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Blah, 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 blah.
By the way, that's what I absolutely love about podcasting, because I hate listening to talk radio and the guys have that cheesy voice. You're like, why are you talking like that? You don't talk like that normally. They're like, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah. 97X. Bam.
Like, why is that the radio voice?
I don't know.
And I don't like the talk radio because a lot of the guys and gals come off as a quote unquote personality. I'm like, just be real.
Yeah.
Like, why are they being so cheesy? And I've gotten negative feedback. I had a girl leave a comment on iTunes. Oh, she laughs too much or whatever.
Then don't listen. Problem solved. Unsubscribe. Like, I don't know why people, like, that's funny that you say that. I don't know why people feel the need to write stuff, because I get sometimes like that stuff. One guy was like,
I don't get that much, but here and now I get some negative.
One time a guy was like, you need to stop cussing on your show. And I was like, what episode did you hear cussing on, dude? Because I don't cuss on my, I don't cuss on my show.
Yeah, you don't.
I was like, what? And I think it was on Twitter, and I kept tweeting him back. I'm like, who said it? Well, it wasn't you, it was one of your guests. Okay, well, which guest? And he didn't write back. I go, which episode? And then he didn't write back. But then I was like, because I'm sensitive to that stuff. I would have stuck up for whoever, because I was just thrown away.
I will tell you exactly why people do that. It's because they are unhappy in their own lives,
yes.
And it's called projection.
Yes.
And I have told this story before on my podcast and another podcast, I think, and I'll tell it again because it's just an example of, it's just so true, and people are not aware of it. We were watching YouTube, and my husband was watching some musician, and he was totally criticizing them and being like, they can't play this and that. How can they have 40 million views or whatever? And I said, why does it bug you so much that they have a, who cares? He's like, it just bugs me. It just bugs me. People will do that. And I kind of started getting deeper because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And finally I kept asking him different questions, not the same question, like over and over again. And it turned out he's a musician. He plays drums and guitar. It was a little jealousy because he hasn't, he's been on and off with bands and haven't been with, and he said, you know what? I'm kind of jealous. I don't have anything on YouTube. I haven't posted any of my music. It's always projection. It's never has to do with you. It never has to do with me laughing too much. The chick probably listening to me wants to do a podcast or wishes she could do this or wishes she could do that, never did. And so she's going to pick on it. And I find myself doing it too. And anytime I do it, I look at myself and say, okay, why am I picking on this person? Because honestly, the attitude should be, and I've tried to have this attitude more, is, hey, good for them.
Yeah.
What is the motive for you to say, well, that sucks, or how could they do this? And it all has to do with ego. It all has to do with they're doing something that you've wanted to do. Wanted to do or something. And even with like Kardashians, people are like, well, she sucks and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Maybe she does suck. Maybe she's horrible and she's a horrible person and she's a rotten person. Who cares? Stop.
What's that got to do with you?
Yeah, what has that got to do with you? And why? And if she's so horrible, turn it off. Stop giving her high ratings. Yeah. Turn off the show. Tell your friends not to watch the show, and then focus on your own life.
It's that simple.
And it's like, why? If she, it's. I think that a lot of these things are just people being totally unhappy and being like, what can I cut down to make myself feel better? And it's not because we're bad people. It's just because it's a human nature that we get to learn how to evolve out of.
Huge shout out to your husband, by the way, for realizing that. Now, I don't know if that was... He
did. He totally realized it, and he felt...
Because a lot of people don't... They don't get to that point.
They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. This person just sucks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
He's awesome. And he said that. He said, well, I guess, I'm just jealous. And he totally admitted it. He wasn't defensive. And he was at first like, well, they're not good. They're not good. Yeah. And then after I said, hey, what's really going on? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, and I kept digging deeper, and he's like, well, I guess, I'm kind of mad because I haven't put my music online. I'm
kind of mad that I didn't get to meet him on this trip. Next
time.
He
might be home, actually, if we keep talking long enough.
I've heard so many good things, not only from you, but just
and he will
stuff.
Play some music for you. I'll force him. I'll be like,
nice.
That's actually his stretch. So he was put on a stretch which is when you stretch outside your comfort zone, and he gets to go to open mic and play his original songs that he's written. They're on SoundCloud, but he's never played in front of anyone. So I put him on a stretch, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna play at open mic," and I'm like, "Yeah, you are."
I love that, by the way. More people. I didn't even know that was called like a stretch or something. But more people, like, you should take that and run with it. More people should do stuff like that. By the way, not play open mic, but do something entirely out of their comfort zone.
It's awesome.
It's almost like a high when you like complete it, or you get. It is
such a high, and it's so fun, and you just make up little things that you can do. Like, it can be anything. If you're uncomfortable with talking to a new person, go talk to a new person today. It doesn't have to be this crazy stretch where you're like, I call it stretch. It's stretch outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, like I have a box theme. Like, you're in a box and you're stretching your box, right?
Patent pending.
But, or, hey, I want to learn how to speak Spanish. Well, watch a Spanish video on YouTube for 10 minutes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be this crazy, well, I'm going to take up. I think that's what is the issue with people changing and growing, is that they go too extreme. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No. Changing and growing is a step-by-step thing. You know what I mean?
It's like Moneyball. You ever seen Moneyball?
I have.
It's like just get those, those one hits, those at bats. You just want at bats. You don't want to hit a grand slam home run. Just get those little teeny wins.
Well, that's what you did. You were like, well, I just need to find someone that made money doing it, and then I just need to do this, and then I record a couple episodes. Okay, by myself that didn't work, so let me try this. Let me try that. Let me try this. It's not. I think. We see these role models and we put them on pedestals, and they're just people.
Yeah, they really are.
And they just did it one step at a time. I've interviewed certain people, and I've heard other interviews where people say, well, how did you do it? Well, I just did it a little bit and a little bit there and a little bit there. And then it happened.
I'm still getting used to it. I'm on other people's shows, or I'll meet people at conferences, and they're like, oh my God, how did you do it? What's your secret? I'm like, I just started doing.
You got to do.
I have the ugliest artwork in iTunes. I have the jankiest website. Like,
I don't know. My website's pretty janky. Everything is self-produced. Me and my hubby do everything. So
me too. Yeah, I do everything on my own. What I focused on, like, at the absolute core, and I say this all the time on my show, I focused on the content. And of course, someone's like, well, yeah, that's what every internet person says. Well, no. Like, for me, what the content was a great conversation that I was going to be able to either, like, truly talk to people. This makes no sense. Let me start over. You can leave that in, by the way, on the final cut. No, like, I wanted to make sure that, how about this? I've done interviews that were so bad that we just didn't gel. There was good content, like what was said,
but it was like awkward.
It was awkward, and it came off, and I hit him up, and I'm like, in a nutshell, like, sorry, I'm not releasing this. I'm a fan. I will continue to support you, but I am not releasing this. If you want a second round, absolutely. But I think for both of our sake, like, we're not releasing this, and that was important to me, to make sure that the end product or whatever was top notch, and everything else could be worried about later.
See, you're actually smart. I've had a couple episodes I've released that I did not want to release, and I actually had other episodes in the can, but I don't know. I'm so attached to, like, the effort I put into it. I'm like, I edited it as best as I could.
I have one like that. I'll tell you who that person is off the air.
I'll tell you who my person is too. And I could not. First of all, it was a huge name guest that had a huge following, and I was just on the fence. It was not a good episode. If you guys are listeners, you probably know which episode it is. It was just, we didn't gel. It was awkward, and the person was not the person that they project in the world on the media sphere, the social media sphere. On an intimate level, they were awkward, weird, grumpy.
That's kind of how mine was. In fact, I looked at my watch, and I think I was still recording in the closet for this one. 'Cause I looked at my watch, and I was like, holy shit, we've only been doing this 5 minutes.
You're like, I thought it was like 35 minutes already.
Yeah, like, I got to do this now for 55 more minutes. Oh my, like, it was torture. I got through it. I wasn't going to release it. That was the one that I went against, like,
your core values.
My core values, and I was like, I'm going to release it. I did, like, the Mozart of editing jobs on this thing. I released it. I let a couple people know, could you do me a favor? Could you listen to this thing? I also belong to a private group on Facebook. I'm like, hey guys, do me I didn't tell them who it was or anything like that. I was like, do me a favor. I really had a rough time. Could you give me some feedback? They're like, what are you, crazy? That was a good episode. Oh my gosh.
It was because of the content, maybe. Maybe the content was interesting and it was just your vibe. But I want to go back to something you just said, which is you put it out there for feedback.
Yeah. You're good, by the way. You're good. Like, no, seriously. I'm gonna sound arrogant again, by the way. A lot of people tell me, like, man, you're good. You pulled these little nuggets and you bring it back. Like, you've done that to me right now, like 3 or 4 times. So, like, kudos to you. That was awesome.
Well, I want to talk about feedback because it's really important. And we talked about people being authentic to themselves. And I think that feedback is so important. True, honest, rough and tumble feedback. And you need to find those people in your lives. I mean, I normally don't give advice. This is advice, people. Because I had a listener email me and say, Rosie, you always talk about working on yourself. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You know, because we all know how to go to the gym and work on our physical bodies.
Yep.
Because we learned that, we know, oh, you work out, you get healthy, you run, and you do this. But, a lot of people don't talk about working on yourself like your insides. And when I say working on yourself, that's a tool. Feedback is an amazing tool. Honest feedback. Now, when I say honest, I mean that the good and the bad.
Yeah.
The bad is sometimes more important than the good. And taking it neutrally. So that means taking it and not beating yourself up. If I say, hey, Chris, the podcast was great. You said, Rosie, give me some feedback. And I said, but, you kind of say a lot. You don't take that and go, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I say all the time. How can I stop saying Oh my God, I say so much. I'm an idiot. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm quitting podcasting.
I'm done. Right? Because some people do that. They hear the feedback. They take it so personal and they start crying. They're depressed in their room. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. No. You just try to stop saying next time.
Yeah. Simple as that. My introductions now on the show, I did this with you, actually. I was still doing it. I would write out the entire introduction, and then I would read it. I would try and do it in a way that, you wouldn't be able to tell I was reading an introduction. And then after that, which I still do to this day, even less, I would write down, 5 bullet points. Not questions, but, bullet points.
To go back to.
Like, I don't even remember what I wrote for you. I probably wrote, comedian, USO. Just little snippets about your life. And then just let it run with however. I stopped writing down intros maybe in the 30s because I'm on in the 60s now on my show, because I wanted to get better at not only speaking and speaking on the fly, but public speaking, all that. And by doing it live like that, well, not live, but you know what I mean? While the guest is there doing the intro in the moment off the top of your head, it forces, at least for me, and you can apply this to anything, I think, it forces that muscle to get better. If I were to continue to write all these intros and then read them off,
it would be a crutch.
It would be a crutch. It'd be like the pacifier or whatever. So you got to just, at some point, make that decision, whether it's reading intros or doing... I can't think of a good analogy right now, but...
Well, I told you before you came over, I said, I do minimal research on people, and some people are offended by that. Not my guests, but I've had, just so you guys know, I don't have that much negative people emailing me. I've had a couple, but I had a person say, well, you obviously didn't do your research on this person. I have done research on people before, and I felt so structured and so stiff.
Yes.
Because I felt like I was using it as a crutch. And so once I started not doing as much research, I would do the basics, who are they are, what's their background, this and that, what book did they write or whatever. But I didn't want to find out, so I heard you grew up in a small town in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's like you're obviously reading off a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I heard you, what was it like in the winter time? Hold on, let me, you hear paper crumpling in the background. And so I just talk and free flow. And usually the most amazing nuggets in my podcast come from just random tangents.
No, yeah.
Hashtag cafe.
Yeah. That's why my show is now bleeding into the hour, 20 hour, 30 mark. I did a show, it was a couple episodes back, and we didn't get into the entrepreneurial gold, because that's why I think people listen to my show, until the 44-minute mark. And if I would have cut them off, we would have lost a good half hour of
gold.
Of gold. Oh my gosh, gold. So I think that was the one that I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, we'll be done when we'll be done. If people want to listen to the very end, great. If not, whatever. You know what I mean?
And I think that's why people enjoy listening to podcasts more than radio shows, because I think radio is so structured. Yeah. And you can't really be free and go off and kind of, it's more, okay, and then we have an advertising break and let's do this and let's do that. Yeah. And I mean, you say hour 44. I was on a couple Death Squad podcasts, which is Joe Rogan's network, for 3 hours. I mean, I cannot believe we talked for that long. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but can you really not believe it, though?
I really cannot believe that we talked for 3 hours. I actually am hypoglycemic, so I need to eat every 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I started crashing like halfway. I was like, we're still talking.
Is that what that's called? Hypoglycemic?
Yeah.
Maybe I have that.
Do you like eat a lot and you don't gain weight and you...
well, look at me. I eat all
the
day.
Time. Yeah,
all day.
I have like 5 to 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
And if I don't...
I should maybe get that checked out.
You know what? There's really nothing you can do, because they do what it's called a glucose curve test, which is horrible. Mm-hmm. They take your blood. They make you drink this sugary, like pure sugar drink, and they take your blood every hour to see the levels. It's not worth it, because there's no cure. Basically, the cure is that you have to watch your food, like what you eat.
Yeah.
And you have to eat 5 or 6 times a day. So you're already doing what you would do if you got diagnosed with it.
Oh, well... I don't even need WebMD anymore. Just come over to Rosie's house. Boom. Eat 5-6 times. But I'll crash hardcore if I don't eat.
Yeah, me too. And you get sweaty and grumpy.
Yeah.
You have it. Yeah. It's just called it's hypoglycemia. It's low blood sugar, and it's hereditary. There's like nothing you can do about it. Usually if people have diabetes in their family, it's not diabetes.
Yeah.
It's like pre-diabetes. And basically what I do is... you do complex carbohydrates, protein, and a lot of fruits and veggies. Obviously, try to avoid, ice cream, sugar, cakes, because you'll crash really hard, really fast, in an hour.
Yeah.
And if you don't, eat, you get sweaty, grumpy, angry.
I'll do better with like a bowl of rice or a bunch of potatoes. I noticed.
Yeah, hearty stuff.
Yeah, hearty stuff. There would be times, like, it's to a point. I don't know how we got on this conversation, by the way, but there comes to a point where I'll be going about my day, and I'll start almost like an alcoholic.
Yeah, and you totally have it. You're totally hypoglycemic.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and you start sweating, and you kind of get this, and you're like, I need food, and
or I'll start planning out crap. Okay, if I'm going to be at this event for I need to really think, how am I going to get food in my stomach? You know what I mean? Or a movie or a show or whatever. Just I'm going to be on a plane for this long. I need to go to the
How old are you?
Hudson News. I'll be 34.
Have you never knew this about yourself?
No, I knew this, but I never knew it was I thought it was just some young scrapping puberty going through whatever boy. It never went away, the eating part, entire
it's pretty
time.
Bad. I used to actually, when I was in school, because I don't know if you had this when you were growing up. I mean, we're around the same age, but they wouldn't let you eat in class. Oh. I used to hide food in my lunch bag and then pretend to go to the bathroom and eat food in the bathroom. I had Go-Gurts, and I had other snacks. My mom and kids would make fun of me at school because I always had this giant lunchbox with so much food in it. And they're like, "Are you bulimic? How could you eat so much food?"
No, we'll go to next time you come to Vegas. And I know we said this last time, but
I'm going to be in Vegas.
You said that last time. Did you end up coming and like a gypsy in the night? You snuck in and out?
I ended up, the trip got canceled.
Okay.
Because we were going to go with our neighbors and they couldn't go. And so we're going the last week of August, first week of September. What is that? Labor Day or Memorial? I always get Labor Day and Memorial Day mixed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whichever.
Yeah.
We'll be there. And I messaged you about it or whatever. You commented.
No, you did. You did.
Yeah. I said, I'm going to be in Vegas.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah. We were going to set that up and then it just never happened. But so when you come to finally visit me in Vegas, well, go on your vacation, but also see us. I'll take you to this Thai restaurant that I'll go and I'll order 2 portions, 2 dinners.
Yeah.
And people think oh, you're crazy, whatever. No, I could really put that down. And then about an hour and a half later, I'll eat again.
Yeah. I got that too. Everyone thought I was bulimic, or they're like, how can you stay so skinny? And I'm like, it's something your body doesn't recognize.
I'm not alone in this world. Thank you.
You're not.
Thank you. And we're both small. We're small. You know what I mean? I found someone else like me.
Yay! You're just attracting. You're just attracting everywhere you go. You're meeting people I'm not going to say it was your private story off the air, but people from 20 years ago, pizza parlors and...
No. You can actually say that story because that's freaking. You talk about Lacey, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I met Lacey, who she brought up. Sorry for hitting the table. At New Media Expo, and the story that Rosie was just talking about, I was telling her right before we hopped on the mics was, I have a Friday co-host, and we're starting to do all these side projects, and one of them's like really huge. That I won't say what it is, but.
I didn't want to give anything away.
No, I'm not going to say that.
You're like doing a special release and I'm screwing it up. I just wanted to call back that you're attracting people in your life.
With her, it still trips me out because she grew up in Vegas just like me. She literally lives 5 minutes away from my house. Her husband and I worked at the same pizza place, and we all have like the same group of friends. There was so many similarities. It's disgusting how many there were. And I met her for the first time in January. And had I not going back to like going down this rabbit hole path, had I not started not only just going down this venture, but living a certain way and acting a certain way and just being comfortable with myself, I highly doubt I would have definitely not started a podcast, not gone to New Media Expo, not met her, met you, met Michael, met all these people that are now in my life. Like, it's just craziness how it all works out.
I think that it's not craziness. I think that
exciting crazy.
No, well, not in a bad way. I know you meant it in a positive way, but I personally think, and for those of you who think I'm crazy, there's actually scientific research that backs this up, that we are all vibrational beings and we put out vibrations, right? Because they actually teach us in medical school. They say that the human body is just a conduit for electricity. And so we're putting out different vibrations and different wavelengths, and you kind of attract what's at your wavelength.
100% believe in that. You act like a scumbag, you attract scumbags.
It's totally true. And, call it karma, call it whatever the heck you want, good luck, bad luck, whatever. When I was not right in my life, my boyfriend was an a-hole. The people that I was with were skin deep. My friendships were skin deep. It's just common sense, because there's been a lot of flack with The Secret, people saying, oh, it's, law of attraction stuff. It's BS. I do have some issues with The Secret, but I don't think that, because people have this idea, a lot of people who have a very shallow understanding of law of attraction stuff, they think that it's just, you just think positive thoughts and positive things happen. And that's not how it works. You have to actually act in alignment with those thoughts.
Yeah. I think the core of The Secret is definitely something. It's just whoever put that on, and I haven't watched it or read it in a while, but they packaged it in a certain way that fit their audience.
They did.
And
I think people, I've heard a lot of criticisms about that. Oh, well, if you just think positive thoughts, well, what if you, live in a third world country and blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. I just think it's like attracts like.
Yeah.
If you're a good person, you're going to attract good people. So once you kind of had, the desire to take risks and open up and do something different, you started attracting other people who are risk takers and different and open-minded and blah, blah, blah. That's just a natural thing. If you're a closed-minded person, you're not going to want to be around an open-minded person because they're going to challenge your belief system.
Did you know I was married before?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you did know that. So same thing. I was attracting, I don't want to say scumbag. I was just not attracting healthy-minded people, and not to bash my ex-wife at all. I mean, I don't want to do that, but I guess I kind of am. She was definitely in that sphere of how I was acting and feeling and just being and putting out there in the world. Fast forward to and we never had kids or anything like that, but fast forward to my life now, freaking love my wife. Like, we're so alike, it's not even funny. And now we have 2 beautiful children. And my life is so much different because of
the way you acted.
The way I acted. I was acting a certain way then, and I attracted that type of woman. I'm acting a certain way, later. I attracted that type of woman.
And I think it's a personal responsibility thing, because a lot of people say, well, I'm such a good person. Why am I attracting these a-holes? Well, maybe you're a good person, but the way you're acting is not in alignment with that. It's just like, given this example before, it's like the woman who's like, well, I want to date a nice guy. Why can't I find a nice guy? And then she sees an a-hole and she gets totally turned on. And all the nice guys in her life, she's like, oh, I'm just not attracted to him.
Yeah.
Well, look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I had the same thing. I was dating a guy who was a total scumbag, and I had so much drama in my life, it wasn't even funny. And after we broke up, for a while, it was him. I was like, he's a jerk. He's an a-hole. And then I was like, wait a minute. What did I do to attract that type of person? And I had to look at myself and I was like, this is not fun.
Yeah. I feel like I keep saying this. This is going to sound arrogant, but
maybe you're just an arrogant person.
No, because I'm so used to talking to people that doesn't understand. Like you do. I'm just not used to it. With me and my wife in particular, I have to focus on me first. I have to get me right first. Most people would hear that and be like, no, you need to attend to your wife. No, I need to attend to me, because if I can't be right and if I can't be healthy and if I can't be the person I want to be or whatever, how can I expect to be a good husband, a good father, a good friend? Like,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. And
people don't get that though.
It's the whole put your airline mask on oxygen mask before you put it on, help the person next to you thing. Yep. And it's so true. You always bring it back to yourself, not in a selfish way. It's a self-love way, so that you can be 100% Chris for your wife. If you're 50% Chris, you're running around with your head cut off. Yep. You're negative. You feel horrible. You haven't eaten. Your blood sugar is low.
Yeah.
You're gonna. I mean, even on that very basic level, if your blood sugar's low, you're gonna be grumpy. You're sweating. Your wife might ask you something. You might snap at her.
Yeah.
It's just as basic as that. If you're not fed well, healthy, have your mind right, not in drama, have everything together. And it's so freaking hard. Yeah. And it's easier for people to focus out and say, well, let me help my husband. Let me help my boyfriend. Let me help my girlfriend. It's called codependency, people.
Yes. Thank you.
It's all about you. And it sounds crazy and selfish, but it's all about you.
Yeah. Big time. Which, real quick, I totally went through a drive-through and scarfed some food down on the way up here.
So you're good?
Yeah. Well, because I was like, talk about planning. I was like, I don't know what's going on. We're doing this podcast, whatever.
I don't know what it's at. She hasn't texted me back the address.
Yeah. It took her like 20 years to give me her address, and I'm hitting her up.
I sent it to you.
No, but I was just like, crap, I need to eat, because I didn't know what we were doing, right? I'm just kind of whatever, but in some weird way, it goes back to taking care of yourself, because what if I would have just ignored that?
You might not have been a good guest.
No, not at all.
You would have been grumpy thinking about, I got to get out of here. I got to go to the drive-thru.
Yeah. And if you weren't as healthy as you were, you'd probably think what a freaking jerk. He's rushing to get out of here. He's not really giving me much. Well, in reality, I'm starving, and that's not it. But you know what I'm saying, though? Yeah.
And I want to give an example, because it always goes back to you people. You have no idea. And this is a lesson. It just happened to me this week. And I'm sure you have stories like this too, where I called my mom, and me and my mom have not always had the best relationship. One of my triggers is that she is always trying to change others. Right. So she's telling me how my little sister needs to do that, and my little sister needs to do that, and why doesn't she listen, and this and that. And then I found myself doing exactly what she was doing. I wanted to change her. I'm like, well, why can't she just see that she's trying to control my sister, and that's why my sister doesn't want to listen to her, because she's trying to control her.
Yeah.
And then, so in that moment, I seriously wanted to change my mom hard. Yeah. I was like, shut up, woman. It's all you. Why are you trying to do this? And then I realized I was literally doing exactly the same thing my mom was doing to my little sister.
Yeah.
And so I took it back to myself, and I was like, what can I do in this moment to shift the way I'm thinking? And my whole mindset changed, and I wasn't triggered, because I usually get irritated when I talk on the phone with her.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's all back to you.
Yeah.
And not in a crazy, arrogant, narcissistic way.
Well, sometimes I'll say stuff like that, not on my show or anything, just in conversation.
And people will think you're
they'll flat out say, what do you mean you're not going to do this? Or what do you mean? They don't comprehend what I'm trying to say.
You're saying you got to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
And not in a selfish way.
Yeah, I don't mean go out and buy the new MacBook, or I need some retail therapy. No, not at all.
And you don't mean, well, your wife wants to go on a date and you ignore her and go do coke for a weekend bender. Well, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
it's not in that way.
No.
You're saying you need to take care of your health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, before you can be 100% for your wife and your 2 kids.
Yeah.
Which I'm telling you, a lot of people do not do.
No, not at all.
I know so many moms who go around with their head cut off, feeling like they have to do everything for everyone else.
Yep.
And then they're a half-ass mom, a half-ass wife, a half-ass girlfriend.
Yeah. My wife, we were all supposed to go to New Jersey for my nephew's something. I don't even remember what it was. And then I didn't know, like, there's some scheduling stuff with me, and I was like, okay, well, I can go, but you're going to have to go first. I'll meet up with you later, take the boys. Then it turned into, I'm not going to go. Then it turned into, like, do I bring the boys? Do I not bring the boys? And then at the very end, we decided, like, you go by yourself. I'll watch the boys. I'll stay home the 5 days or whatever. You need a break. Like, you need to get away from us. You need to get away from the boys. You need to get away out of this house. Just go have fun. I realized this was supposed to be a family trip and all that other stuff, but, like, you need to do that. Now, granted, that was a little extreme. She goes to New Jersey. She happened to be going to New Jersey. But even with myself, sometimes, like, I have all these errands to run, and of course, like, yeah, let's do it as a family. I'll flat out tell her, like, I want to go by myself. Like, I need to just decompress. I need to, or what have you, right? And sometimes...
I think that's healthy.
It is. Like, it absolutely is. But I think, like, you have this and I have this. The spouses get it because they think that way also. Most people, if... I have friends, if they, God forbid, told their spouse or their partner or whoever, like... I'm going to go do this by myself.
Why do you need to do that
by yourself?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
We never spend time with each other. Oh, my God. And then it turns into, like, those conversations that I told you about that happen at 11 o'clock at night. And
the bad ones, not the good
bad ones. Yeah, those are the bad ones. That's what happens. But in reality, like, sometimes you got to disconnect to connect and get some, like, you time. And then when you come back, you are the person you want to be.
Are you texting with my hubby?
No.
Oh my God, he says that, like, all the time.
Disconnect to connect?
He says disconnect to reconnect, and he'll grab my phone and take it away from me.
Oh my God.
He'll say, disconnect, honey, disconnect to reconnect.
It's absolutely true, though. Like, it's crazy true.
Where did you get that? We got it from an article, I think.
I got it from...
He read it online because there was an article about people being so connected to their devices that they were ignoring people in their lives, and they were more depressed, more miserable, more whatever.
I got it from a boss that I had at Clear.
Really?
Actually, yeah. And I hadn't really... What was going on? Oh, my wife was having our second child. And I was, like, telling him, like, I'm only going to be gone 2 days and da-da-da-da. And, like, that was just, like, a super... Like, I have super work ethic. So I was, like, stressed out about taking time off for the birth of my second child. That sounds crazy, by the way.
That does sound crazy. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, I admit.
Because that's only going to happen once.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, dude, like, sometimes you got to disconnect to connect. Like, you need this time off. Like, you need... And what's funny about that is this way that we're talking about and how I live my life. Like, I was already doing it at that point, but I kind of got wrapped up in what I was doing, and I really liked that. Like, that resonated with me, what he said, and I apply it to everything now. Electronics, vacations, whatever. Like,
you don't know? Do you not know about the man cave?
Mm-mm.
Okay, let me school ya. Guys need the man cave. So, so the way that we're programmed is that men are single focused. And you guys need to decompress, like physically decompress.
Yes.
So back in the day, guys would go to the man cave and they'd stare into the fire and they would decompress. And the modern day equivalent of that is watching Sports Center or staring off into your phone or sitting on the couch with your mouth open. Who knows? Ladies, guys need this. This is a physical need that it's actually built into our DNA in our evolution. And so what happens is guys will come home from work, or they'll come from a stressful day, or they'll come home from whatever. And women, we want to chat.
Yeah.
And guys don't want to chat.
No, not at all.
Guys want to sit in the man cave and stare into the fire because that's how they decompress, ladies.
I've literally stared at the wall to decompress.
Yes.
That's so odd.
You so need it.
Yeah.
Ladies, listen to me. I'm telling you. So ladies, if you want a happy man, when he gets home, get the F away from him for like half an hour to an hour and let him decompress.
You are now my new hero. Not because you're saying that, because you understand. Like, that's exactly the time.
It's
a half hour to an hour.
It's half an hour to an hour.
Yeah.
Just leave them alone. Don't nag them about anything. And I swear to God, ladies, you will have the perfect husband that will do anything you want.
I don't know what to say. I've been pretty talkative on this show. I'm now kind of speechless. Like, that's... amazing that you know that.
I'm really, again, like I go on and on about personal development. Who is it? What is Alison Armstrong? Guys, Google her online. I want to get her on the podcast or YouTube her. She talks about, she has a whole series called Understanding Men, Understanding Women. And she talks about the differences between men and women. And there's all sorts of personal development relationship stuff that you can find online. And once you start understanding this language of men and women, you're like me and my husband, we don't fight. And when we fight, it's very constructive.
Yeah.
Because we understand each other. And sometimes he comes home and I forget and I nag the crap out of him and he gets really grumpy. Mm-hmm. And then I think, oh, he needs this man cave.
That's so awesome.
You're like, yes.
I wish this was on video because the look I was giving you was like, oh my God. Like,
how does she know?
Oh my gosh. And the thing with the fighting is, and my wife and I talked about this, when you fight like lawyers, you're fighting to make the other one lose.
You're fighting for ego. You're fighting to win. You're fighting to feel right. No, you're a team.
Like, I don't want my wife to lose. So when we get to those, we're Italian, I don't know, like we're passionate people.
You are.
We definitely get into those fights, but then we'll catch ourselves. And then we'll talk constructive, and then we'll talk normal. And she learned that somewhere, the lawyer thing. Like, stop fighting like lawyers. Like, you don't want to call the other person a loser because nobody wins. You don't want to
call that. You don't want to beat them down. You don't want to tear them down.
Yeah.
Basically, when people are fighting, it's because one person has a point of view and the other person has a point of view, and you haven't met eye to eye yet.
Yeah.
And so
then it's tit for tat.
Yeah. Then it's like, let me prove to you how. You're not trying to prove anything. Like, shut up, sit down, go take a deep breath, go take a walk. You know, anytime.
Go stare at the wall.
Anytime you feel like you need to prove something, just stop.
Yeah.
Because the fight is going to end bad.
Yeah. You know
Even if you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just take a walk.
What I found, and we're going deep in the relationship stuff now, but even like on my show and entrepreneurism and all that stuff, like if you come at it that you don't have to prove anything, you often do better, I think.
Yeah, because it's and that's why I always push the personal development, because every single thing that we do is about our self-esteem. Buying the Mercedes, buying the Beamer, you want to show something, being super successful.
Yeah.
You're trying to prove something, people. And if you don't believe me, I have done everything, literally. I was a freaking dominatrix for a year, and all those super successful guys that I would beat the living crap out of felt like crap.
Yeah.
And they wanted a 19-year-old Asian girl to step on their face and tell them they were worthless, because all of their success and it was all super successful guys. It was my only clients were super successful guys.
Yeah.
And it was because they didn't feel worth it, and they had to, quote unquote, prove how successful they were.
Yeah.
By being billionaires, millionaires, whatever. And they were so desperate and dead inside that they needed to pay me $200 an hour to step on their face and call them worthless.
Yeah. It's like that's... I don't even know how to deconstruct that. And that's... I mean, those guys, they're doing things like that and they're paying all this money, but you can take that scenario and it forms into so many different things that people have. And they're like, for those guys, they want to get kicked in the junk or stomped in the face or what have you. Others, it could be drugs and alcohol. Others, it could be...
It's always something, because
abusing
they're trying to
their children.
They're filling something, a void.
Yeah.
And so when you fill that void, you know, you could be successful. You could not. You don't care, because you love yourself and you love who you are. And then, like you said, you end up being more successful.
Yeah.
Because you're coming from love and positivity and all this other stuff, instead of proving yourself in desperation and ego.
That's why I stopped sharing my numbers. I think we follow each other on a lot of stuff. I used to like, oh, congratulations, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And then I'd post my download. I stopped doing all that. Once I was like, why am I really doing this? Am I doing this for really? Am I doing this for social credibility or all this stuff I was telling myself? Or am I really doing it for ego? And
it was ego.
I think it was. That's the conclusion I came up with. So I stopped. Not knocking anybody that does income reports. Not knocking anybody that does, download numbers for if you're a podcaster, or subscribers if you're a YouTuber. Like, I'm not knocking it. It's just, at least for me, the motive in which I was doing that
was not a good one.
It wasn't a good one, so I stopped immediately. And what's funny about that is my numbers
started going up.
They started going up. They jumped.
That's how it works. It's like, with me, like I was doing stand up and I was doing stand up for the wrong reasons. I was doing stand up because I wanted to prove to people I was funny. I wanted to prove to people I was likable. I wanted to prove all this stuff, which is why 98% of stand ups do stand up. And I'm telling you guys, it's the wrong reason. Once I started doing the personal development and realized, hey, I just want to make people laugh and be happy and be a positive person. Yeah. I started having more fun on stage. I wasn't, in the back. I'm telling you, most stand ups are in the back room after the show. Oh, it was horrible. I didn't do well. Yeah. They didn't laugh at this joke.
Those two guys in the front.
I have had bad sets and good sets. Now, when I have a bad set, I'm like, I had fun. I'm like, they didn't laugh, whatever. I had a blast.
Yeah, I had fun. That's all that matters.
I had a blast. And sometimes it's even funnier to me because if the audience doesn't like me, I'll see one or two people who do and they really get me and they can tell I'm having a blast on stage and they're laughing even harder.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this girl's cracking herself up.
Yeah. And that's all that matters because let's just pretend you're doing a set and you have, say, 50 people in the audience and you pick out the 3 that really get you. Those are going to be the ones that are
they're lifelong fans. They follow me on Twitter. They listen to the
they're
podcast.
They're going to tell everyone and their mom.
They're going to tell everyone and their mama.
Yes.
Instead of having 100 people who kind of like me and they're laughing, but they're not like that into it or whatever. And plus, I have more fun doing stand-up. I used to be a miserable stand-up. If I didn't have a good set, I'd be in the back. Oh my God, they hated me, this and that, because it was tied to my self-worth. Mm-hmm. Now I have an insane self-esteem, not to sound arrogant. Yeah. But I'm confident.
Yeah.
If I have a bad set or a good set, I don't care. I really don't care. And people say, well, how can you not care they didn't like you? I'm like, well, I like me.
And that's all that matters. That goes back to if you're not...
And I had a blast.
Yeah. That goes back to what I was saying. Like, if you don't take care of yourself first, how are you going to be a good wife, a good friend, a good stand-up, a good... You know what I'm saying? Like,
and you know what? That's all that matters is you. And people say that as a cliche, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many friends I have? I've been in this business 12 years that are multi-millionaires at stand-up, and they're the most miserable people...
I believe it.
...you've ever met.
Yeah.
They're miserable. Yeah. Miserable. They're so desperate for attention. They go on the road. They cheat on their wives. They sleep with all these fans just to feel a little bit of self-confidence.
Probably ton of drugs.
Ton of alcohol. They're making... I know a guy that's making $10 million, I think. I think he was in Friday as one of the top doing stand-up. He's miserable. He keeps buying a new house every year because he's so unhappy. He can't just sit still. He just can't sit still.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and you had the real estate money.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And it sounds so cliche. And we hear the cliches and we go, oh, yeah. But in our own lives, we don't look in the mirror and say, hey, am I doing that?
It's almost like, remember when you were a kid and you either had like, when you were watching a VHS and it was either Channel 3 or Channel 4. And if you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, we had the TV where you turn the knob, okay?
Yeah, well, I did too. But like
the big square TV where you turn the knob.
They call them consoles. Channel 3, like you can kind of see. And then when you change the Channel 4, it was like boom, like clear.
Yeah.
That's almost kind of what happened to me, and I think what happened to you. And people, when they get into self-development and they live their life in Channel 3, and once they figured out how to switch to Channel 4...
They're like, oh, it's so easy.
It's like, oh my gosh, life is like this? Like, I want to do everything now.
But it's not, it's like you have these little aha moments, and it's all about digging deeper, like you said, going down the rabbit hole, looking at yourself. Like, kind of, and it sounds kind of like not fun, but the darker you get, the more positive the outcome.
Yes, absolutely. And
I think some people don't want to go to the dark. Like, you don't want to realize, hey, I'm a bad mom. Like, because I'm not here, because I'm spaced out.
Yeah.
I hate my job. Nobody wants to say I'm a bad mom. But when you look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm a bad mom, I don't pay attention to my kids, I'm spaced out, this and that, I need to make a change, it hurts.
Well, what's the alternative? You're just going to continue to be a bad mom.
You're going to continue to be a bad mom.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it hurts, but then after you make that change, then you're an amazing mom. Your life's together. You don't... And some people, their life isn't, quote unquote, so bad that they want to look in the mirror. They're not rock bottom. That's why I think rock bottom is kind of a good thing. Because it makes... sometimes when you're so rock bottom, you just wake up. That's what happened to me. My ex was a total douche. And it took me being with someone like that for me like, oh, I need to wake up.
Yeah.
But some people, their marriage is kind of
It took me...
It's not that bad. Their job, I got a good job, this and that. So they don't want to say, hey, I need to wake up.
Everybody's bottom is different, I think. It took me living out of a 1991 white Jeep Cherokee in the garage of the high-rise that I was just living in that same year.
Cherokee. Was it a Grand or a regular?
I think that I've had two. My very first car was a 1981 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Was it the square one?
Yeah, it was 81. It was like $4,000, and
now we're just reaching for coincidences, but that's not everyone has that car.
This one was like a regular Jeep Cherokee, but it took me living in that thing in
the high rise.
No, I was in that
the basement of the high rise.
Yeah, in the underground parking garage. The car couldn't move, but that's where I had to live because I already lost everything. I already got kicked out of that high rise, and because luckily the real estate industry was so over inundated with people just dumping houses that I didn't get kicked out. I was still able to hop the wall to get into the complex and like MacGyver the door and everything so that I can get in and freaking sleep. Like all in 1 year, by the way. Like I was making like stupid money, and then that same year
I was the numbers ego.
I was honestly I was probably making like $500,000-$600,000 that year.
So crazy money,
some crazy money for me. Yeah. And then that same year,
I think for anyone. Chris.
Yeah.
Just for me.
Well, you're just talking about some dude $10 million. So like that's
but you know what? Man. But you know what? It's actually proven that anything over 60,000 is it was like 0 to 60,000 is like your needs are met, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's how much it costs to get your needs met. And they said something like a couple $100,000 and up, it's like the same lifestyle. It's actually the same lifestyle.
Crazy.
Because you can't physically buy more stuff.
Yeah.
Like a Jag is like what? 80,000?
Around there, yeah.
You can't buy 10 Jags.
No.
You can, but what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the lifestyle is actually the same. And I think they said, like, even if you're a billionaire, it's like the same, like 100 million to like a billion. It's like the exact same. So people who are like, I need more. It's like, you can't physically, how many freaking houses do you need?
Yeah. How many Rolls Royces or
physically,
whatever?
Like, it doesn't, the actual joy that it brings, and it's like, it's the same lifestyle. Have you seen Happy documentary?
Mm-mm.
You gotta watch Happy documentary.
Well, okay.
It's on Netflix. It's a Happy documentary. I referenced it a couple times, but it's really, it talks about the what is it called? The treadmill. It's like, I can't remember, Platonic, I don't know, whatever, treadmill, where you're on the treadmill and you need more. And then when you get more, that becomes your plateau. And then you need more to be happy. And that's external happiness. And then internal happiness, which lasts longer. Mm-hmm. It comes from self-worth, personal development, doing things that you like for pure joy, not like no money at all, just pure joy.
Yep.
Like if you like roller skating, just roller skating.
Yeah.
And doing that because you like it and it makes you happy and it brings you pure joy. And then they compare that to external happiness, which is what our society pushes, which is financial, image-based, all that, and how that is an addiction because when you do it, it only lasts for 6 months, I think. That's why people that win the lottery, 6 months later, they're like miserable, whatever, this and that, unless they have personal development skills. So it's all personal development. It's all personal development.
It really is.
Because it's like all that stuff, none of it matters. You know, you're going to have $10 million. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this was a really good chat.
We actually have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm so sad because we're getting really deep. But I like to keep my I think we've actually gone an hour and a half. I like to do an hour because I've been praised for my hour as being a good number to consume. Some people get a little overwhelmed with the hour pluses. So we're going to wrap up. Chris, how can people find you and support you and listen to you? And also my dog is crying for water.
Everything is CerroneShow.com. CERRONE. I really hope you can spell show. Whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, you want to listen to the show, that's like the hub. Just go to CerroneShow.com.
Okay, and anything upcoming where people can see you live or meet you? I know you have a conference coming up in Dallas, right?
Yeah. I'm speaking at Podcast Movement in Dallas, August 15th, 16th, 17th, or 16th and 17th. I don't know. Go on CerroneShow.com. On the right-hand side, you're going to see something with the Podcast Movement label.
You didn't even remember. Like I said it and your face just lit up. You're like, oh, yeah.
I totally... I didn't want to pitch or plug. I just wanted to be a great guest for you. I'm speaking there, and there is something in the works. That's all I'm going to say.
There's something in the works.
There's
so
something in the
him,
works. Follow me.
Follow him on Twitter, guys. And guys, don't forget hugmetees.com, our sponsor, hugmetees.com. Spread love, give a hug, hugmetees.com. And as always, outoftheboxpodcast.com. We now have a support button. You can click on that. And if you use one of our affiliates, we get a little kickback. iTunes and Stitcher. And please, guys, we don't have that many followers on SoundCloud. I know you guys are listening because I see the numbers, but please click on soundcloud.com/outoftheboxpodcast and follow us. It helps us out a lot. This has been Out of the Box Podcast with Rosie Tran.